Then we've got your aeronautical information publication. This is another document. Guys, remember what I said, 90% paperwork, 10% flying. Okay, AIPs are another huge document. Just like the cats and the cars are their own individual documents, you then have the AIPs, which is another individual document. And it is your aeronautical information publication. It does this. It shows a pilot how to plan their flight. That is what your AIPs do. So if you have an admin, a bunch of admin peeps on your team, they're probably not going to use the AIPs. They're probably going to ask the pilot for information because the pilot uses the AIPs. We have another document called the AICs, which is your Aeronautical Information Circular. And that one is made for your legal and your administrative and your technical information. So that is the one where your admin team will look at that document. Okay? But we will learn over this week and over this course, we'll learn more and more about each of these different documents. I'm sure that you guys are still going to ask me many, many questions on them going forward in the future. So let's just focus on our AIPs. The AIPs are for your pilots. Number one, what do? They tell a pilot how to plan their flight and how to fly correctly. Number two. Okay. Where do you find the AIPs? On the CAA website. Number three. Alright, those are the three biggest questions and answers when it comes to the AIPs. Right. Your AIPs then break up into three different sections. The first section is general, abbreviated to GEN, all capitals. Okay, so AIP S1 Gen is your general section. Guys, your general section is where you go to find things like terms and abbreviations and other general information like different sunrise and sunset tables. And even to make it easy for yourselves, you even have general information such as how to use the AIPs. So guys, you don't actually need to go through training to develop your knowledge of this stuff. What you would do is this. Read section 1 of the AIPs and it would teach you how to use the AIPs to learn the rest. Read part 101 of the cats and cars and it would teach you how to use the rest of the cats and cars. You see what I'm getting at? The reason we train this is because it's a lot of information and the CAA has standards that they need to make sure that you understand this information. But that's why this is a course and it is not actually lessons. Okay? Your lessons come from yourselves going and studying these documents by yourself. Do you think we have in 1 week, do you think we have the time to study all of our stuff plus all of these documents? It's impossible, okay? That's why we tell you where to find this information so you can go and study and learn for yourself. Right. Then you've got your section 2 of your AIPs is your en route section, abbreviated to ENR. Okay? Guys, en route, I know it looks weird as a word, but if you ignore the spelling and you listen to what it says en route, okay? Your path. So, what sort of information is in this section? Information that you need to know to plan your flight path, okay? You need to know if you're flying through an airspace. You need to know if you're flying over a landmark. You need to know, should I plan to go this way? And if I go this way, is there going to be an obstacle? Is there going to be another type of aircraft coming in my way? That's where en route comes into play. And section 3 is your aerodromes. First question, what is an aerodrome? An airport it's the best example of an aerodrome, but you can get aerodromes which are not airports. Yeah boy, yes. That's right. That's what we use. But this is why it's important to break this word down. What exactly? What would, if you could give me a dictionary definition of aerodrome? Who wants to take a guess? Or
An aerodrome.
yes.
A location where you can find a flight strip and also a taxiway which you can land and depart from.
Boom shaka. An aerodrome is a designated place on the ground used for taking off and landing of aircrafts. How do you know if it's an aerodrome? Because it has an airstrip. It has a helipad. It has something on the ground that says, whoa, that's obviously for aircrafts. An aerodrome is not a place where aircrafts are stored. An aerodrome is not a place where aircrafts are maintained. However, most aerodromes, like the airports, will have places for your aircraft to have that anyways. But the aerodrome itself is the point on the ground where the aircrafts are used for taking off and landing. If I take my drone into this parking lot and I take off and land, is that an aerodrome? No, it's not an aerodrome. Because there's nothing on the ground that specifically says that's for cars. It doesn't say it's for aircrafts. There's nothing there to say that's for aircrafts. Is a helipad at the top of a hospital an aerodrome?
No.
Yes. Yes, it is. It's a place for takeoff and landing.
But you can't taxi then.
No, you don't need to taxi. It's for any aircraft. Okay, it's for any aircraft. But then we need to remember that there are differences between licensed and unlicensed aerodromes. There are private aerodromes as well. And usually your hospitals that have helipads tend to be private hospitals, which means it is a private facility, not a government facility. And that means that aerodrome might actually just be an unlicensed aerodrome. Okay. Normally your licensed aerodromes are your big airports, your international airports, your training facilities, things like that. Okay. Cool. Alright guys, there are two more things to know with regards to your AIPs. There is an AIP amendment and there is an AIP supplement. The abbreviation for the AIP amendment is AIP AMD. And for supplement, it is AIP SUP. Okay. What does the word amendment mean? What is it to amend something?
Amend is when you change something.
You make amends,
Yeah.
right? You make corrections. That's exactly what it is. Your AIP amendments, remember guys, the AIPs is a fully fledged document. You might as well think of a book. You publish a book, you can't just remove all those books and then republish a new book because you want to make a correction or a change. What do you do instead? You release online, you release an amendment, an AIP AMD. It says, for example, if a runway has had an earthquake and that runway used to be 5 kilometers long and now it's only 3 kilometers long of usable runway, you can't go to the AIPs and remove all of the AIPs just because one runway is now 3 kilometers instead of 5 kilometers. What they do instead is they'll release online the AIP amendment that says this runway at this aerodrome is now only 3 kilometers. Okay, that is where the AMDs, the amendments, come into play.
But only if it's a permanent change.
Yes. What happens if it's a temporary change?
Then you will release the supplement.
Absolutely. So your supplements are where there is a long-term temporary change. Okay.
Do you know why I'm saying that?
Yeah.
Because now you're saying there was an earthquake.
Yeah.
And the runway is now 3Ks.
Yeah.
So now you're giving the institution an opportunity to either they will fix the runway to get it back to being 5Ks, or rather now let's just make it 3Ks, but now it will cut their customers because some of the pilots cannot land there anymore.
That's right. So the reason I use this example is for this exact reason, is that we can use this example to break into the various different types of documents. And in fact, We've already had that. I don't even need to instruct it. Okay, no, it's all good. I'm glad that you did that. I think sometimes it's better to get a perspective from multiple people rather than just one person. But essentially what she was saying there is that your AIP supplements are then your long-term changes. So the amendment would be, there's been an earthquake here. The supplement would be, if they decide, okay, cool, we're going to start doing construction work. The supplement would be, there is construction work at this runway, planned for the next however long, let's say 6 months, okay? A short-term temporary change, guys, is 3 months or more, okay? Anything less than that is called a NOTAM, which we'll discuss later on. Alright? But yeah, so your AIP supplements, guys, what does the word supplements mean? When you supply something, you add to it, right? A supplement is an addition. Okay. So number one, supplements are used for short-term, long-term temporary changes, but number two, they are used as additional information resource.
So you said if it's more than 3 months, 3 months and more.
Yeah. Usually it's around 6 months. Okay? So your AIP subs are used for things like that, where it's saying we're doing construction on this runway. Okay, boom shaka, there's a change there. Once that has been fixed, what happens then? Once that supplement is over and the construction is now done, what happens then? Do you go back to your AIP amendments, or does it go straight into the AIPs? Why do the AIP amendments exist? Yeah?
It's to keep record of what has been happening. So now it will have a date to say this supplement will be valid for this time. If it goes over that date, then they'll have to issue a new supplement. So now each time they issue a new supplement, then it seems to become permanent, then you have to release an amendment straight away.
Boom shaka. You cannot just go and throw this information straight into the AIPs. We already know that if something changes, you can't just change all the AIPs. That's why the amendments exist. So if a change has occurred, where the change was the runway is now three things long, and then the change happens, the runway is back to 5 kilometers, it's still a change. Okay, it's still a change. So it goes into the AIP amendments. Alright? How does this work with the AIPs? The AIPs have dates, records. At each point in time, the AIP will be updated with all the amendments, and that will become the new AIPs. And then what happens? Literally the AIPs can be released, and the next day there can be a tsunami, and now half those aerodromes are not usable. Okay, life happens, so you can't just consistently just update AIP. Here's a new book. Okay, it won't work. So they make the AIP amendments instead. Okay, between the two of us, does the rest of the class understand the difference between the AIP amendments and the AIP supplements? Yes? Great news. Okay. Alright, so now we need to be able to find our AIPs and all these other documents. Guys, once again, the CAA website. You know how I said the CAA website's the number one thing you should be looking at? This is why. Okay. Go to the CAA website. You'll then go to information. So if we go back up to this one over here, you'll go industry. Okay. You'll get a drop down. You'll scroll down and you'll see information for the industry. Okay. And then with that, you then go to aeronautical information. Why? Because that's the AI of the AIP. Aeronautical Information Publication. Okay, so find the AI, Aeronautical Information. Boom shaka, open it up, and it's going to take you to a page like this. You're going to get your general information, your en route information, and your aerodromes. Guys, section 3 aerodromes, what is it? In fact, let's break it down. Let me ask these questions. Section 1 general. Give me an example what you find in that section.
To give you times for sunrise and sunset.
Sunrise and sunset and definitions. Great examples. Number 2, en route. What examples do you get?
Airspaces that you'll fly to.
Airspaces that you'll fly through. Good. Section 3. Who wants to guess what information it is?
Aerodromes.
Yeah, so tell me about it. Why would I use section 3? Why not just section 2? Because if I'm just planning to fly through, what do I need to do before? Yeah?
Say maybe you're flying and there's an emergency and you need to land at a certain airport. And there's an airport or an aerodrome in between your route. Then you go to the aerodrome under the aerodrome publication. Then it will give you all the specs about that aerodrome.
Boom shaka. Your aerodrome section exists because before you are flying, you need to take off and land. And you need to know the information about where you're taking off and landing. Okay? And therefore, your aerodrome information section exists. Cool.